Truth is not for the weak-hearted. Truth is not for people who want the easy road. Truth calls for men and women who are willing to stand when the crowd is sitting down. It calls for people who will hold the line when everyone else is stepping back. You see, lies are always popular. Lies travel fast because they promise comfort. Lies promise approval. Lies promise that you can fit in without standing out. But truth often places you in a lonely place. There will be moments when speaking the truth will make people uncomfortable. There will be moments when standing for what is right will cost you applause, relationships, or opportunities. There will be moments when the entire room may move in one direction, and truth will require you to walk the opposite way. And that is where courage enters the story. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision that truth matters more than fear. Courage is the strength to say, even if I stand alone, I will still stand. Courage is the refusal to bow when lies demand your silence. The world does not lack intelligence. The world does not lack talent. What the world desperately lacks is people with the courage to defend the truth. Because it takes courage to be honest in a dishonest environment. It takes courage to protect your integrity when compromise is rewarded. It takes courage to live by conviction when convenience is calling your name. Every generation faces this test. Every person reaches a moment when truth stands before them and asks a simple question: are you brave enough to stand with me? And in that moment, the easy path will whisper to you, the crowd will pressure you, doubt will speak to your mind, fear will try to tighten its grip on your heart. But the people who change their lives, the people who influence the world, the people who leave a legacy are always the same kind of people. They are the people who choose courage over comfort. They are the people who choose conviction over convenience. They are the people who refuse to trade the truth, no matter what the cost may be. And this is exactly how deception works, because lies never arrive looking dangerous. Lies arrive dressed in comfort. They arrive wrapped in convenience. They arrive sounding pleasant to the ears and gentle to the emotions. A lie will whisper to you, relax, it's not a big deal. A lie will tell you everyone else is doing it. A lie will convince you that one small compromise will not change anything. But lies are experts at one thing. They promise comfort in the moment while quietly stealing your future. The danger of a lie is not the moment you hear it. The real danger is the moment you start believing it. Because once a lie settles into the mind, it begins to shape the decisions you make. A lie may make you feel safe today, but tomorrow it weakens your character. A lie may protect your reputation for a moment, but later it destroys your credibility. A lie may offer temporary peace, but eventually it produces permanent consequences. You see, truth may sting for a moment, but lies poison slowly. Truth may confront you today, but lies betray you tomorrow. And history is filled with stories of people who traded truth for a comfortable lie. People who knew what was right but chose what was easy. People who believed the false promise that small compromises would never become big consequences. But lies always grow. One lie demands another lie. One compromise demands another compromise. And before long, the person who once valued truth begins building their life on a foundation that cannot stand. And here is the reality most people do not realize. Lies do not just destroy individuals, they destroy dreams, families, reputations, and entire futures. Because when you choose a lie, you are choosing an illusion, and illusions cannot support the weight of a meaningful life. Comfort built on deception never lasts. The applause of people gained through dishonesty fades quickly. The success achieved through compromise eventually collapses under pressure. The peace that comes from ignoring truth eventually turns into regret. That is why strong men and women learn to recognize the difference between what feels good and what is actually right. Because lies appeal to your emotions, but truth protects your destiny. And this is why the battle for truth is not just happening around you, it is happening inside you. Because what you believe will eventually become the direction of your life. Belief is powerful, it is invisible, but it shapes every decision you make. It determines how you see your future, how you face your struggles, and how you respond when pressure comes knocking at your door. If a person believes the lie that they are weak, they will never attempt great things. If a person believes the lie that their past defines their future, they will remain trapped in yesterday's mistakes. And if a person believes the lie that integrity does not matter, they will slowly trade their character for temporary success. Your beliefs are like the steering wheel of your life. Wherever they turn, your life eventually follows. That is why lies are so dangerous. Lies are not just words, they are seeds planted in the mind, and when those seeds grow, they begin to shape how a person thinks, speaks, and acts. A lie, believed long enough, becomes a false identity. A person who constantly hears, "You will never succeed," may begin to believe it. A person who hears, "Your voice does not matter," may begin to live in silence. A person who hears, "You are not capable," may stop trying altogether. But truth has the power to break those chains. Truth reminds you that failure is not final. Truth reminds you that strength often grows in the middle of hardship. Truth reminds you that your life was not designed for mediocrity, but for purpose. When truth enters the mind, it begins to transform the way you see yourself and the world around you. Suddenly obstacles become challenges instead of excuses. Suddenly setbacks become lessons instead of defeat. Suddenly the future begins to look different because the foundation of belief has changed. Great victories in life never start with circumstances, they start with belief. Because once a person truly believes what is right, their actions begin to align with that belief. And when belief and action move together, a person becomes unstoppable. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, a silent battle is taking place within your thoughts. Truth stands on one side, strong and unchanging. Lies stand on the other side, persuasive and persistent. And both are competing for one thing, your belief. Your mind is like a gate. Every idea that enters must pass through it. Some ideas build you, some ideas weaken you, some ideas move you toward purpose, and others slowly pull you away from it. The challenge is that lies are often louder than truth. Lies shout through fear. Lies shout through doubt. Lies shout through the opinions of others. They say things like, "You will never overcome this." They say, "You are not strong enough." They say, "It is easier to give up than to keep fighting." And if a person listens long enough to those voices, the battlefield begins to shift. Doubt begins to grow. Confidence begins to shrink. The mind slowly becomes a place where defeat feels normal, but truth speaks differently. Truth does not always shout, sometimes it speaks quietly but powerfully. Truth reminds you that storms do not last forever. Truth reminds you that strength is often born in the middle of struggle. Truth reminds you that even when circumstances look impossible, your story is not finished. The problem is not that truth is weak. The problem is that many people stop listening to it. They allow the noise of the world to drown out the voice of truth. They allow fear to repeat lies until those lies begin to sound believable. But the moment a person learns to guard their mind, everything begins to change. They start questioning the negative voices. They start rejecting thoughts that weaken their spirit. They start choosing ideas that strengthen their courage and sharpen their purpose. And once a person wins the battle in their mind, they begin winning battles everywhere else in life. Because a mind that is grounded in truth becomes a fortress that lies cannot conquer. It is easy to speak about truth when the room is quiet and the pressure is low. It is easy to agree with truth when everyone around you is applauding it. But integrity reveals itself when the situation becomes difficult, when temptation appears, when the easy path is standing right beside the right path. Integrity asks a simple question: who are you when nobody is watching? Because a person without integrity may succeed for a moment, but their success will always stand on unstable ground. A reputation built on deception may shine for a season, but eventually the cracks begin to show. You can build wealth without integrity. You can gain influence without integrity. You can even gather applause without integrity, but none of those things will last. Integrity is the foundation that holds everything together. It is the invisible structure beneath a person's life. When storms arrive, and they always do, integrity is what determines whether a person stands strong or collapses under pressure. Think about the leaders who are remembered with honor throughout history. Think about the people whose words still carry weight long after they are gone. It was not simply their talent that made them great. It was not their popularity or their power. It was their integrity. They refused to sell their values for temporary gain. They refused to bend the truth to satisfy the crowd. They understood something that many people forget: that character is more valuable than convenience. Integrity may slow your progress at times. It may close certain doors that compromise could easily open. But the doors that integrity opens are the ones that lead to lasting influence and genuine respect. Because when people know that your word is trustworthy, when they know that your actions match your convictions, something powerful happens. Trust begins to grow, and trust is one of the most valuable currencies in the world. It cannot be purchased. It cannot be forced. It can only be earned through consistent honesty and unwavering commitment to truth. A life built on integrity becomes a life that others can depend on. And when pressure comes, when challenges rise, when the winds of difficulty begin to blow, that life will remain standing because its foundation was never built on lies. And this is where many lives begin to drift away from truth, because compromise rarely appears as a dramatic decision. Most of the time it begins with something small, something that seems harmless, something that feels insignificant in the moment. A person does not wake up one morning and decide to abandon their character completely. Instead, compromise whispers quietly. It says, "Just this once." It says, "No one will ever know." It says, "It's only a small step." But character is not destroyed in one giant moment. Character is weakened one compromise at a time. The first compromise may feel uncomfortable. The conscience speaks loudly. The heart senses that something is not right. But if that voice is ignored, the next compromise becomes easier. And the next one easier still. Before long, the person who once stood firmly for truth begins to bend under pressure. Compromise has a dangerous way of disguising itself as practicality. It convinces people that adjusting their values is necessary for success. It persuades them that honesty is too costly and integrity is too difficult to maintain. But the truth is that compromise does not strengthen your path, it weakens it. Every time a person trades truth for convenience, something inside them begins to erode. Confidence fades, respect fades, and the inner strength that once held their character together begins to fracture. Because deep within every human heart there is a compass designed to recognize truth. When a person repeatedly ignores that compass, they begin to lose their sense of direction. Soon they are making choices they once promised they would never make. They are accepting behaviors they once rejected. They are becoming someone they once warned themselves not to become. And the tragedy is that many people do not realize what is happening until the damage is already done. Compromise promises progress, but it produces regret. Compromise promises acceptance, but it sacrifices authenticity. Compromise promises peace, but it quietly steals integrity. The strongest people in this world are not those who never face temptation. The strongest people are those who refuse to surrender their convictions when temptation arrives. Because every time a person refuses to compromise the truth, their character grows stronger. Their backbone becomes firmer. Their life becomes anchored in something that cannot easily be shaken. Excuses are comfortable shelters. They protect us from responsibility. They allow us to explain away our failures and justify our weaknesses. And if we are not careful, we can build entire lives around them. An excuse says, "I can't move forward because of my past." An excuse says, "I would try, but the circumstances are too difficult." An excuse says, "Someone else is the reason my life has not changed," but truth walks into the room and refuses to accept those explanations. Truth has a way of shining a light into places we would rather keep in the dark. It challenges the stories we tell ourselves. It questions the limits we have accepted. It forces us to look directly at the barriers that are standing between us and the life we were meant to live. And sometimes that moment can be uncomfortable, because when truth exposes an excuse, it removes the safety net. Suddenly, the responsibility returns to us. Suddenly, the question is no longer about what others have done. It becomes about what we are willing to do now. Truth says your past may explain where you started, but it does not control where you can go. Truth says difficulties may slow your journey, but they do not have the authority to stop it. Truth says the power to change is closer than you think. Many people spend years waiting for the perfect conditions before they take action. They wait for the right moment, the right support, the right circumstances. But truth reminds us that growth rarely happens in perfect conditions. Growth begins the moment excuses end, the moment a person stops blaming their past, the moment they stop surrendering to fear, the moment they decide that their future is worth the effort required to pursue it. And when that shift happens, something powerful takes place inside the human spirit. The same person who once felt trapped by excuses suddenly begins to see possibilities. The same person who once doubted their strength begins to discover courage they never knew they possessed. Because truth does not simply expose excuses, it awakens potential. Not the kind of freedom the world talks about, where people believe they can do whatever they want without consequences. That kind of freedom often becomes another form of bondage. The freedom that truth brings is far deeper and far more powerful. Truth frees the mind from fear. Fear is one of the strongest chains that holds people back. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of what others might say. Many people live their entire lives trapped inside those invisible walls, afraid to step forward, afraid to speak up, afraid to become who they were meant to be. But truth breaks those chains, because when a person embraces truth, they no longer need to pretend. They no longer need to hide behind masks. They no longer need to carry the exhausting weight of living a double life. Truth liberates the heart from guilt. A life built on lies creates constant pressure. Every lie must be protected. Every deception must be remembered. Every hidden action becomes a burden that weighs on the conscience. The mind becomes restless, always looking over its shoulder, always fearing the moment when the truth might finally be revealed. But when a person chooses truth, that burden begins to lift. There is peace in honesty. There is strength in transparency. There is a deep sense of relief that comes from knowing you are no longer running from reality. Truth also frees a person from the control of other people's expectations. Many people spend years trying to please everyone around them. They shape their identity according to what others approve. They silence their convictions just to avoid criticism. But the moment a person anchors their life in truth, they discover a new kind of independence. They realize that their value is not determined by applause or rejection. They begin to walk with confidence because their identity is rooted in something stronger than public opinion. And once a person experiences that kind of freedom, something inside them becomes unshakable. The chains of fear begin to fall away. The pressure to pretend disappears. And for the first time, they begin to live with clarity, courage, and genuine peace. The crowd has always had a powerful influence on human behavior. People naturally want acceptance. They want to belong. They want the comfort of knowing that others approve of their choices. But the path of truth does not always travel through crowded streets. There will be moments when the majority moves in one direction, and truth calls you to move in another. There will be moments when speaking what is right may bring criticism instead of applause. There will be moments when silence would make life easier, but truth demands that you raise your voice. That is when courage becomes visible, because standing for truth often means stepping away from the safety of the crowd. It means refusing to echo opinions that you know are wrong. It means holding onto your convictions even when others question your judgment. And history has shown us something remarkable about people who do that. Every great movement for justice began with someone who was willing to stand when others refused. Every powerful change in society started with one voice that would not be silenced. Every moment of moral courage was born when someone decided that truth mattered more than popularity. The crowd may laugh, the crowd may doubt, the crowd may even resist you for a time, but courage has a strange and powerful effect on people. When one person stands firmly for truth, others begin to notice. At first they may watch from a distance. They may wonder if the risk is worth it. But slowly, something begins to shift, because courage is contagious. The same voice that once sounded alone begins to inspire other voices. The same stand that once looked isolated begins to attract others who are quietly waiting for someone to go first. And before long, what started with one person refusing to bow becomes a movement of people who refuse to surrender their convictions. That is the power of standing for truth. Even when you think you are standing alone, your courage may be lighting a path for someone else who has been searching for the strength to stand as well. Purpose is not found in confusion. Purpose is not discovered while chasing illusions. Purpose reveals itself when a person builds their life on truth. Because lies cloud your vision. Lies distort your understanding of who you are and why you are here. They convince people that life is only about survival, only about comfort, only about collecting temporary success. But truth clears the fog from your mind. Truth begins to remind you that your life carries meaning far beyond ordinary existence. You were not created just to pass through life unnoticed. You were not designed to drift from one distraction to another. There is a calling placed within every human soul, a unique assignment, a purpose that gives life depth and direction. But purpose cannot grow in the soil of deception. If a person believes the lie that they are insignificant, they will never pursue the potential inside them. If a person believes the lie that their voice does not matter, they will silence the message they were meant to share with the world. If a person believes the lie that failure defines them, they will abandon the journey before their story even begins. Truth changes that. Truth opens the eyes of the heart. It begins to show you possibilities where you once saw limitations. It reminds you that every challenge you have faced has been shaping your strength. Every obstacle you have overcome has been preparing you for something greater. Suddenly, life stops feeling random. Struggles begin to make sense. Experiences that once seemed painful begin to reveal lessons that are building your character and sharpening your mission. And when a person begins to walk in truth, they move with clarity. Their decisions become stronger. Their direction becomes clearer. Their life begins to align with something meaningful and lasting. Because purpose is never discovered by following lies. It is revealed when a person has the courage to stand firmly in the truth and allow that truth to guide every step they take forward.